So according to the number of people in a particular geographical region or district, the government distributes money to those districts for socio-economic services. 300 million are distributed yearly based on the results of the census. How is all that money distributed, and how much of it really comes to our communities? Where does the money go? Who gets it exactly?
Well, it's actually 300 billion, and it's
Yeah,
every
sorry.
10 years, because the census is taken every 10 years. And what it does is really determines where, when it counts the people across the board, it now goes back to Congress and says, well, this is how many people there are in every specific area. And that's how the budget gets chopped up. So if there are 1 million people who actually fill out the form and say that, yes, we're here living in the Flatbush area, then that million becomes significant in the bigger scheme of things. What has happened is that's not happening because our community, they're afraid, first of all, of filling out the form, and secondly, they don't really know, they're confused. It's like, where do I tick? I'm not really African American, I'm not Asian American, I'm not Hispanic, so exactly what am I? So oftentimes they would throw out the form, or they would just hide from the census takers because they're so afraid of what's going on. And what happens is people now, like upstate New York, where we have our people who are going to prisons there, what is happening is those communities now are counting all those people within that area. So the prison population, who are originally from Brooklyn, gets counted as part of the upstate New York population, and this sends their numbers up. So now they're making the case of, well, we need federal dollars, we need federal buildings, and that's what's happening. And so we see little areas in upstate New York getting huge federal buildings. How does it happen? The census.
So Cara, as a concerned immigrant, concerned resident of the state, do you have what concerns would you like to voice to either Ms. Persaud or Mr. Beckford in terms of the Caribbean ID 2010?
Well, in terms of Carib ID 2010, I had a couple of questions, which I guess, you have faced numerous times. In terms of, well, currently, Afro-Caribbeans identifying themselves probably as African Americans, not only on the U.S. Census form, but, on various other forms, including college applications, etc. What would you say would be, do we not have, if it's a numbers game, do we not have a duty to still add to their numbers, add to the numbers as a joint Afro-Caribbean and African-American voting bloc in order to get, continue to get attention in Congress right now, rather than basically creating a fraction or segmenting ourselves from them? Do we not have a duty to them?
It's an excellent question, and it's one that we always want to get out there, that this is not a divisive issue. It is definitely something that is trying to get the Caribbean population counted, and it has nothing to do with ethnicity. So for someone wanting to take Caribbean and African American, that's perfectly fine. Just like being Hispanic and being Hispanic Caucasian or Hispanic African American or black is perfectly fine. So it has nothing to do with ethnicity whatsoever. All we're asking for is an origins category so that we can now count ourselves as Caribbean origin. So we can say now there are 15 million people who are Afro-Caribbean origin. So it takes away nothing from the actual African-American ethnic / black ethnic category.
Right.
And so that is really something that we want to reiterate constantly.
So you wouldn't be diluting the, not to cut you, Cara, but you wouldn't be diluting the political bloc that
Absolutely not.
African Americans have,
No,
some of us
because,
identify with that.
A lot of folks, in the Caribbean community, vote Democrat. Except we're just not recognized for it because we're lumped in with a huge group. So, the Hispanics recognized this early in the game, much to their credit, and they fought for their own category because they wanted to be identified as that bloc, because they saw being a bloc means that you have the power. And that's really all we're asking for, is to be recognized for the powerful community we are.
Welcome back to New York Links. If you caught our show last week, you saw our discussion on Carib ID 2010. We now continue with the discussion.
Although the aim is to create an origins category, the sole purpose is to get funding, right, from Congress.
I wouldn't say
Or-
it's just to get funding.
or a major
it's sort
part of it.
It's sort of diluting the whole emphasis of what
Mm-hmm.
it is just to go out there and say, you know, we're here to get funded. I don't think it's a matter of just getting funded. It's a matter of being recognized and stepping out of that invisible block where we've been pushed too long. I mean, if you
Right.
look at the presidential campaign, our issues are not getting pushed into the forefront. We don't see, you know, Barack Obama or John McCain coming to our community and lobbying for our votes because we're just lumped in with one big block.
And that I understand, but I know that it appears that many people would probably see it as a lobby for funding or to get more funding in their communities, whether, as you said, to create hospitals, schools, etc. And say with African Americans, there are already tensions existing between the two communities, especially as many African Americans see Caribbeans and you know, other members of the African diaspora usurping what, you know, they would believe is their birthright to, whether it be federal funding for colleges, scholarships, etc. How would we present this argument to them without making it look like that's what we're doing?
Let me answer that this way. Basically, what we have, I think, and traditionally within our communities, people of color, that divide and conquer has always been in our communities. So now the divide and conquer was you're a house slave, you're a field slave. Now we take it in another level. You're from the Caribbean, you're from Africa, you're African American born in America. And so basically the system used that and divide us. We're more educated now, I take it. And it's for us to realize that together, just like the unions realize that the union is one of the most integrated organizations in this country. Just like they realize now that the black worker, the white worker, the system was using that division of color to manipulate it, give the white guy $2 more, but they're still keeping you down. Once we come together, we see that organizing and unity together. And let me emphasize, it's not only about the dollars. I give you an example. East Orange in New Jersey, where I live, has 60% Caribbean community. That's the population. There's no representatives on the city council. There's nobody on the Board of Education. It would look at the educational programs that they're teaching, 60% of a particular group, and there's nothing to teach them about Alexander Hamilton, Marcus Garvey, and the history from which their parents come from. So that is not only money, but is even our own religious organizations, the other social programs. Nobody knew, for example, the Esmond Green situation. They thought she was a mad woman. You and I walking by Esmond Green, getting in the spirit, as we say in Jamaica, and shouting hallelujah. We'll just look at her as a normal person being deeply religious. That they use with her to say that she was getting crazy. And so these are some of the issues, social issues, that Carib ID will put on the forefront.
Okay. We're going to take a break and we'll come back with more of the discussion. We'll be right back after these messages.